Okay, we're going to finish up the notes in your Chapter 8 packet. The last section of notes that we need to do is on finding the exponential equation from the graph. So if you will turn to that section in your packet, we will move on from there. Go ahead and pause this video if you need to get it out. All right, so number 1 says find the y-intercept. That's the y value. It's your starting point or your a in your equation. So on your graph, you're just going to go onto the y-axis. That's this up and down right here. And you're going to locate where does your point touch the y-axis. So for this graph, it's right there. Let's change the color so that it stands out a little bit more. We'll use green. So our y-intercept is right here. So we're going to count on the grid and find out what number that is. So always check your scale. These boxes are going up by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can confirm that they're 1 at a time. So my y-intercept right here is going to be at the point 0, 3. So in this case, I can say A is equal to 3. All right, so the next step says locate another measurable point. You're going to look for how the x value changes and the y value changes from the y-intercept to the other point. Very similar to what we did when we did straight lines. You want to try to get the very next point if you can. It's a little bit easier that way. So you're going to calculate the multiplier by dividing the y value from the second point you found by the y value of the y-intercept. This is going to be your multiplier or your b equation. There's one extra step there if you happen to pull a point that's not the very next consecutive point. So my x is 0 right here. My very next x is 1 right there. So I'm going to slide up the 1 until I touch my curve, and you can see I'm right here. And what I want is I want to know, does it hit right on the grid, the corner of one of those little boxes? And I happen to do that right there. So this is going to be the next value that I use to calculate my multiplier, and it is at the point 1, 6. So what I need to know is, how did I take my 3 that was right here, my 3 value for my y, and turn it into a 6. So 6 divided by 3 is going to give me the multiplier, which is just a 2. So then we're going to put our equation together. So you're always going to start with your variables listed as variables. That means you don't put numbers in unless you're trying to calculate a specific point. So y equals, then you're going to use your a value, which is the 3. That's your y-intercept. That's the one you want to do first. And then you're going to do your multiplication. So you can use a dot for that, or you can use parentheses. I like to use parentheses here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my whole parentheses in, and my exponent, which is x, and then my multiplier. Shrink my screen back down. There we go. So my multiplier we decided was 2. So in this equation, or this graph right here, this function, I have an equation of y equals 3 times 2 to the power of x, and we can double check that right there if we want to take a look at one more point on our, easily to identify on our grid, and it falls on our curve right here. So that has a y value of 12, and it has an x value of 2. So if I take that 2 and I plug it into my equation right here, I should get 12 if my equation is right. So let's just try it out. So y equals 3 times 2 squared. Plug in my 2. 2 squared becomes 4, so that's going to be 3 times 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. And that's what we were expecting it to be based on our graph. So I can confirm that our equation is correct.